Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan Gheesling. Welcome to episode 4 of the Dan Gheesling Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you happen to be listening from. I appreciate you guys dialing in. As always, you guys know I read all the feedback. My goal for the show is just make it one tick better every single episode. So I want to give you guys an update of what's been going on and the good stuff and the journeys, the things that have been happening. So we're going to jump right in. One of the things that it's been burrowed into my mind lately. It's probably from one of the podcasts I listen to, really the only podcast I listen to on a daily basis. In particular, I listen to it when I go for a run in the morning. It's the Gary V audio experience. Is really just a really dialed in, savvy business individual. But anyways, I think that's probably where I extracted it from. But it's more so just about what's been in my head is just drilling in, making it as easy as possible for the community, for people, for you to listen where you want to listen or watch where you want to watch. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, how can I implement that? How can I move the needle a little bit forward in that direction? So what I did, and it seems like something small, but I already got some feedback on it, was whether you guys know or not, I have a Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin long form playthrough going on Twitch. So it's usually the back half of the Monday, Wednesday, Friday show on twitch.tv/Dan Gheesling. So we're playing through the game. I don't know, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be somewhere between a 20 and 40 hour experience, somewhere in that range. I don't know for sure. But anyway, so if you miss the live show and you don't catch up, and you want to catch up, currently the only way to do so is to watch the episodes one per day on YouTube, or you catch up and binge watch. But still, usually you're about 7 to 8 episodes behind. So as opposed to waiting for them to be released on YouTube on a daily basis, what I did was Twitch has a feature called Collections, which essentially is a playlist. So what I did, and yeah, it's extra work, but I was happy to do it. I took all the cut up episodes that I export directly to YouTube, and so you had the YouTube playthrough. Say there's currently 20 episodes of Dark Souls 2, and 12 of them have been released on YouTube. All 20 are available right now on Twitch. So what I started to do, I put that playlist together on Twitch so someone can literally catch up. So for Monday, when we continue the show live form, if someone wanted to tune in, they could be caught up right away. And in addition to having that collection, which Twitch calls, it's basically just a curated playlist, I went back and linked all the descriptions of Dark Souls 2 so that if someone is watching the episode, they want to see them all at once, it can dial them in. So and that's, I think, a theme I'm going to have in my dome moving forward, is just make it as easy as possible. Not for me, because that's extra work. I'm happy to do it, but make it as easy as possible for people who want to watch what they want to watch on the platform they do, as easy as possible. Now, of course, the Twitch VOD playlist experience isn't as intuitive. It's not as smooth. It's not as refined as YouTube, but at the same time, it's functional. So for people that are natively used to watching VODs on Twitch, I think it'll be a really easy experience. For people that aren't, I don't think it won't take them very long to figure out. But bottom line is just another added thing I tried to do to try to make it easier. And who knows, it may even help with expanding. Someone discovering, maybe someone's looking for Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin on Twitch, and they run into the playlist. You never know. And, I could hear someone, and when I say hear someone, this is being super facetious, but I could be like, oh yeah, Dan, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 people will find it. Well, let's say 10 people find it, and say one of the 10 enjoys it enough to join the community and be a part of it. Tell me that wasn't worth it, because it is. I'm happy to do that every single day of the week and make it as easy as possible, because, when I talk about drilled into the dome piece, one of the things for me that's drilled into my dome piece is that it's a long-term game, right? So, some people may not think that it's worth the time to do that, or may not want to put in the time or whatever. But to me, it is, because if this were something I was looking to squeeze as much as possible in the shortest amount of time, I wouldn't do that. But that's not the approach I'm taking to it. And I think it just ties into, if you listen to all the episodes, that this is a long-term venture where I don't have to squeeze the orange for every drop, every single moment along the way. And so I look at that as a huge advantage when I go along this journey and continue to figure stuff out or try to figure stuff out. Having that overarching theme of not having to squeeze everything and not having to worry about monetizing everything, or if something isn't doing well, just doing the right thing, what I think's the right thing, every single opportunity, regardless of if there's a financial backing to it or not. So from something I'm very happy with that, to something that I'm not happy with, is I'm not happy with the YouTube performance. And I made a commitment to 30 episodes of exclusive Tarkov on YouTube for the month of September. I hired an editor, and it just hasn't been very consistent, through no fault of the editor. It's completely my fault. And I just haven't been consistent in recording exclusive Tarkov episodes. And so I took a half step back. Why? Because I haven't taken a full step back. Why? To take a look at it. And so when I made that commitment, cool, fine, did the legwork to find a great editor, super happy with them so far. But I started to see, all right, the performance isn't there, right? So the performance of the edited videos that a lot of efforts put into it it's at the same par, or even maybe a little bit less than the non-edited. And I think that's completely unfair to say that it's because of the format, because that's not it at all. If I look at it, and there's no way to ever really tell, but if I were to look at it, I think it's for a couple things: lack of consistency, and some of the thumbnails I haven't been super happy with. However, I've taken a step back and looking at this whole thing, is that I have to keep reinforcing myself internally, and I do. Just be patient, stick with it. And that's the thing, I don't think you decide to change to going from long form unedited content to edited content and see an increased boost right away. Because I just think it's YouTube is such a different game that I'm going to talk about in a second. But I think just being patient. But at the same time, when I say be patient, in my head, I'm like, okay, I look back at some of the hits. Over the 5 years, I've had some really, just a small handful, but some crazy, just bizarre, unexpected hits on the channel. And when I say hit on the channel, it's something that I recorded that I thought, would be fun to do, but I didn't expect. It's not like I expected them to blow up. And a couple that stand out to mind, really the first one that stands out to mind, I wanted to say, whenever it came out, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, right after the Bethesda E3 conference, or the pre-show, they announced a mobile game called Fallout Shelter. At the time, I was really into Fallout. It looked like a cool mobile game. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me do a quick first look at this video. So I did it, put it up, and within a couple hours, I'm like, what the heck is going on? It had a couple thousand views. And so to me, like, that's a rare random hit on YouTube where you do something, and when I say a couple thousand views for my channel, that's a really big hit, especially back then and even now. So that kind of opened up a path. I did a bunch of episodes. People enjoyed that, and it was one of the higher viewed series on my channel. Yeah, it's kind of random, but it's just one of those things that's like, it was a hit. Same thing with Star Citizen. I never really expected Star Citizen to do super well on the channel, but that kind of took off. And if I look at some of the most popular videos, half of them are Star Citizen videos, and that may make you lead you to believe and say, Dan, why don't you do Star Citizen? That's a whole different story that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But then there's another random first look at EVE Online video that has done really well. So when I look at stuff like that have just kind of popped off, it reinforces patience, but also on the flip side, it's like, well, continue to throw the kitchen sink at your YouTube channel and see what happens. Because for the most part, people know what to expect in terms of in the past couple months recently. But without doing first look at and without, just trying a bunch of random different stuff, you don't really know what's going to take off. So it's a really interesting internal dialogue that I have about staying consistent with Tarkov, even though the numbers aren't where I want them to be right now. And really, I think I just need to mitigate my expectations down to zero and just stick with it for 30 days because I feel like that's the right move. But also still being able to mix in random things in there to try and spice up the YouTube just because I feel like it's not there. But on a super macro level, on a higher level, if I'm looking at the short term, what's going well right now, Twitch it's not even close. Like Twitch is slaughtering YouTube. And then in terms of success, fun, looking forward to it, that sort of thing. But it's just such an interesting dialogue. To me, it is that I go through in my head. It's like, all right, well, that's going well, but it's short term, so you don't want to neglect YouTube long term. I'm not one of those people that because something isn't doing well, I'm just not going to like stop doing it or throw it away. It's like in my head, I just keep going, okay, how do we fix this? How do we keep messing with it so we start to get the ball moving again? And that's something that I try to do with everything, is that if I'm dead set on making something work, although it may not end up working out how I want it to, I'm going to keep grinding until I figure it out. And so I feel like YouTube is going to be that unique dance along the way where you never know what to expect. And I think at some point, much like, Twitch, you could argue it took 5 years, but really, and I've talked about this a lot, even in 4 short podcasts, I just feel like just now after 5 years, and really in the past, you're just hitting stride with Twitch, just having like a good flow, a good show, community is amazing. It just takes so many mistakes and trying different stuff to get there. And I feel like YouTube, I'm not quite there yet. But the good news is still open to trying a bunch of different things and working on some new things. And one of the things I'm going to be trying out is I spoke with my editor today actually and said, hey, take the last VOD and let's make a narrative edited short down video similar to the YouTube exclusive series Trouble in Tarkov, and let's see how that goes. I don't know how it's going to do it. I don't know if people are going to say, well, Dan, where's the long form full VOD from Twitch that we want to see? I don't know, but I'm going to try it and see how it goes. And I think to me, that's always in the back of my head. Just continue to try new stuff. You never know what's going to work. And when stuff starts to work, do more of that and less of the stuff that doesn't work. Now, speaking of YouTube, one of the things I did want to talk about, because it was one of my goals early on. So I had a YouTube channel. I've had this YouTube channel for 5 or 6 years, but before I started putting up gaming videos, I just put up some Big Brother stuff, some random Big Brother videos about me unboxing stuff or talking about the experience or whatever. And I can remember early on, if I were to look at, if you can go to YouTube and look at your top or your most popular videos, it will show you a 6x4 square, or there'll be a six videos by 4 videos. So what is that? 24 videos of all the videos on your channel with the most amount of views. And during that time, when I first started YouTube and turning the corner for gaming, it was like all but like one of them were all Big Brother videos. And I'm like, man, one of my goals is to wipe this thing out and make it all gaming videos. Like the most popular videos on my channel were gaming videos. And over time, one would creep up there in the top 24. And, a year later would be like 6 out of the 24. A year later would be like 8 out of the 24. But now it's finally at a point, and I don't know when it hit, but when I started looking at all these YouTube analytics, I just clicked on it for fun. And now it's to the point where it's like completely wiped out. And that gets me excited. And it's not because I'm trying to transition or shun my experience on Big Brother on reality TV. That's not it at all. It's always going to be a part of my story. It's always something that I'm super happy with. I'm fortunate to have that experience, and really that gave me a nice spark plug or a nice little boost to get started in gaming. But it's just not my focus. So it'd be like, in a previous life, I played chess, and now I make car videos on the internet. They're not related, and I don't play chess anymore, so I don't have a desire to do that. So it's like in my head, it's like, all right, you've done that. Now let's fix the YouTube channel and get it to grow some more. So outside of that, the other thing, when I talk about trying to work something in either to the stream or from YouTube, it's always like trying to decide to stream a game. And one of the things in particular this past week that I say that I made a decision on Friday. So normally the show I stream, half the show roughly is Escape from Tarkov, which is a survival first-person shooter, and half the stream is Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls-esque game. So that's the show format that's working. But every now and then I'm like, there's some games that I want to try out, but you don't want to, completely wreck the train off the rails. But at the same time, if there's a little what I like to call white space in a game, then I'm going to try it. And so on Friday, I tried to get Scum. I tried to play another segment of Scum because it's like Tarkov-ish, or it's in the same family. It didn't end up working out because the servers had just got upgraded. So I started streaming Scum and couldn't get into the game, but that's not the point. The point is that I talk about overarching themes or things that are in my head that I'm always thinking about when I make a decision about playing a game or bringing something to YouTube, is I play games that operate in this white space, right? So I try to play games that aren't the most popular, but are like the second tier or third tier down, because there's, number one, not as many people playing it. So it's a really weird, there's not like a exact science or anything I go through in my head it's more of a feel thing to pick a game to play. But for example, like playing Fortnite right now, there are so many people playing that game. I'm not going to call it oversaturated because that's not the case, but there's very little white space in that game for a myriad of reasons if you're trying to create content for it. Now, do I think there's certain niches you can fill within Fortnite? Yeah, like, funny videos or, story, you can make narratives, whatever. I think there's space in it, yeah, but at the same time, something like Escape from Tarkov, and I think I was talking to my buddy Ryan, or Ryan had mentioned something to me, I think it was off camera, and he had said, wow, man, I went to the Escape from Tarkov subreddit, and he's like, I didn't know that many people liked the game. So there's in my opinion, a disproportionate amount of people playing the game and not a lot of people streaming or doing content on it. So that's like a white space situation. And so I think that's why Tarkov has done well on my channel, because I'm not great at the game. I'm average to sub, to maybe a hair above average, but there's just not a lot of people playing it. So as a result of that, people that are looking for people streaming Tarkov, they're like, hey, I can watch like one of 3 people. It's not that dire, but at the same time, I like operating that white space. And of course, the overarching theme is that I've said overarching theme a bunch, but is that I gotta like the game, right? So I'm not just gonna play a game where there's white space because I know I can be successful at it or get a lot of views. It's got to still fit. But it's just that's something that's just been drilled into my head, and I think like that's why I consider myself a pseudo member or member of the NLSS crew. If you don't know, there's like 8 or 10 guys that that do content together, go on live stream together, and I feel like that's why I play some of those games. It's because like everyone in the group, I say, is similar in some way and very different in other ways. But I tend to play games that are very different from what a lot of other people play in the group. And that's not, saying one way is better than another. But if there's people that are part of the NLSS community that want to see someone play Tarkov, I think they're probably more likely to watch me because they know me through the NLSS crew than a random Escape from Tarkov streamer or someone on YouTube. However, unless they watch me play and they're like, wow, Dan's really bad, so I'm not going to watch him anymore. But that's what I'm saying. So it's like I try to offer something different but still similar. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something internally that often I think about. So outside of that, some other cool stuff that happened this week, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because it's like I set this goal, right? So I have this 3-month planner, and it was my assistant had bought it for me for a gift for Christmas, and I just kind of, thank you, by the way, I just kind of threw it in my desk and never used it. But it's a very specific planner where you set like a 3-month. It's designed around this 3-month action plan. So I'm not huge into that, but I'm like, all right, let's do it. And that's, I started running. It's worked out for me. And is it because of the planner? No, but it's helped for sure. But anyways, the running's been there, but one of the goals I set was to hit 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. And this past week we crossed 800 subscribers, which is the by far the most, and every day that we grow, it's the most my channel's ever seen. And I got to the point where it's like, okay, like I set this goal of 1,000, but as I started to think about the show and what I wanted to talk about, I realized I don't want to focus on that. Like, hitting 1,000 subscribers is cool, but that's not really the goal, and because it's like you hit that and then what? And then it's such an arbitrary number and an arbitrary goal that has nothing to do actually with what I want to do and with what I've kind of mapped long term. So this podcast in particular, and prepping for this podcast, has really made me adjust that goal away from a monetary or from an actual number figure. Because if that fluctuates, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect the show that I put on. So the new goal I've kind of set is just move the needle every single show. And that's, I don't want to say that wasn't the goal. It's always been a part of the goal, but it hasn't been the main focus. Like every single morning in this planner, there's a spot. It's like, write down your top 3 goals. And one of the goals I wrote down is get to 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. But starting on Monday, I'm not going to write that anymore because that's not really the goal. The goal is just to make each show better and better, even if just by a hair or by a tick or whatever, whether it's taking feedback from a community member in the Discord or during the show or from Twitter or from Instagram DM and implementing that, listening to the audience, listening to what they want and making the show better each time. And I feel like I've been doing that, but that's really the goal that I have, because over time, say the next year, every single show, it gets one tick better. At the end of next year, all that stuff's going to happen on its own, from subscribers and all those other things that on a long-term basis, I think it will just happen as long as I continue to put on a good show and make it better every single time. And I know with the underlining basis of the entire show being clean, positive entertainment, I think that's big, man, because there's been and it doesn't happen often. And I don't ever want people to think that, and I feel like I talk about this all the time, like I'm always, sunshines and rainbows coming out of my eyes. But I think last week there was a show where I was like a little rattled, and it's like, hey, you let it slide off and you continue to put on a positive show, because that's what at least people in the community that are on the show want to see. They don't want to see raging or complaining. That's not how I am anyways. But at the same time, it's just, I know I continue to put on a good show and move the needle each time, all the other stuff's going to happen. And the other stuff isn't the goal anyways. So it really, I'm glad that we hit 800 subscribers or crossed 800 subscribers this past week. But at the same time, it made me take a step back and say, dude, that's not really why you're doing this. And this is not really, shouldn't be your goal, and adjust it. And I think it just goes to say even more about kind of this whole YouTube and Twitch thing and this journey that I'm on, is that you adjust along the way, right? So I know for a fact the goal of 1,000 subscribers is not the right goal to have. So you adjust and move forward. Just like I'm going to end up doing a series that may work or may not work, so I'm going to adjust and move forward. So that was some cool stuff that happened this week. This is going to be a little bit short of a podcast, but I do want to dial into the Q&A for the week. But I don't know. It's just, I'm very happy with the podcast. We put in, and I don't want to jump around too much because we already passed by. But one of the holes in my armor. If you're looking to jab me and you want to sting me, or if I self sting, it's putting too much on my plate and then just finding a way to get it done, and maybe quality of stuff thins out and it drops. And I look back at this now and it's like, all right, well, why do you think you haven't been consistent on YouTube? Well, you added on the podcast. But that's, at the same time, when I hear myself say that, I'm like, that's just an excuse. You just find a way to get it done, man. Cut 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and dial in. So I guess that was a stream of conscious thing. Anyways, I want to get to the question of the week. This comes from Bobo. He's been around the YouTube community for a very long time. He sent me a DM, and I appreciate the DM. He says, hey, I just finished Epi 3. Really enjoyed it. Question for next week. If you had to choose a previous series from your channel to introduce new viewers to your content, what would you choose? Me, it would be Gauntlet. The back and forth with Mathis and NL was legendary. So I think if I were to introduce someone to a collaboration content, I would probably, Gauntlet would be up there. Gauntlet, by the way, was the first collab series I did with both Mathis and Northern Line. So it was really fun, and there were some really hilarious moments on there that had absolutely nothing to do with the game. But in terms of introducing someone to the YouTube channel or Twitch, I think let me take a half step back. He said if you had to choose a previous series from your channel and introduce new viewers to. All right, so if I were to introduce someone to the channel now, I would probably have them watch the Dark Souls Remastered playthrough. Reason being, it's going to give them an insight to what I'm most active on now, which is producing a Twitch show. But at the same time, they're going to get a vibe of how I am, right? I don't take things too seriously. I try to keep things positive in the face of assault-induced environment by the game. And I just try to make it a show. And I feel like that's probably a good, accurate representation and easy enough for someone to slide into versus something like, I wouldn't say Tarkov, because I feel like Tarkov's more of a niche game that, you know, someone that may be on the fence a little bit is going to be a little confused or have no idea what's going on. It's more of like a slow burn, where Dark Souls you can kind of jump in right now and kind of figure out what's going on. So, Bobo, I appreciate the question. Thank you so much. I appreciate you dialing in. I want to remind everyone, if you guys want to have a voicemail question put on the show, I'm kind of been just collecting them. I haven't put one on the show yet because I don't want to change the process up of how we record the podcast just yet. But soon, if you go to dangheesling.com/ask, you can go on your web browser on your phone. You can record a voicemail question right on the show if you want to get your voicemail question on the show. And also, I want to encourage you guys or invite you guys to check out our community Discord. So you guys have heard me talk about some people on the show or the community, and come check out the Discord, dangheesling.tv/Discord. It'll send you a direct invite. And that's where the people in the community hang out. They'll play games together. There's, you know, often some interesting conversations going on. But it's a really cool program, and more importantly, it's a cool place where members of the community hang out and you get to know people. And it's crazy. It's like you get to know people like, I know like Bobo. Like, he's got a family. He's got kids. I know he listens to the podcast, probably with his kids in the car, but I know that not from a single DM. I know that because he's been in the comments for a long time, and it's funny. You just get to know people, and over time, you know what people are about. You know where they're from, and I think that's cool. I had this conversation with a random stranger, not a completely random stranger, but one of the things I've been into, completely unrelated to this. It is related. I've been back into trading cards a little bit, so I've been buying out some collections and stuff like that. Anyways, so I met this mom at a McDonald's to buy a card collection, and she was telling me that she's selling this card collection, blah, blah. I'm like, why? She's like, well, I want to buy a camera for my kids going to start on YouTube. And so I got in this long diatribe about how, and I'm like, that's cool. You know, I hope that you encourage them and you know, they have a good experience with it. But one of the things that's happened with the internet is that, you know, kids that are in school now or in high school or middle school that may be into something unique, like say Dungeons and Dragons or a certain type of random trading card that they like or whatever they're into. Back in the day, 10, 15, 20 years ago, those kids didn't really, unless there was someone in their school, they didn't really have an outlet to enjoy their hobby with someone. Like, and this is the story I told her. I went to grade school with this kid. He was a grade younger than me. And on show and tell, everyone brought in stuff they liked, whether it's collections. This kid brought in his collection of vacuums. He was in third grade. I was in fourth grade. I'll never forget. I saw him and his mom wheeling all these vacuums in, and there's kids laughing or whatnot. But here's a kid who loved to collect vacuums. Loved it, man. Like you could tell you anything about vacuums. He loved it, and I guarantee, in that grade school, no other kids collected vacuums. However, now with the internet, and this is what I'm talking about, like Discord, that kid, there's probably vacuum collectors R Us community or whatever. I just think the internet's people are afraid of the internet because it's, there are some creepy stuff out there, but I just feel like that's such a 0.00% creepiness. But you have all these opportunities to connect with like-minded people, especially for kids, for anyone, where they don't feel like they're the only person that likes this. And I don't know, and I feel like that's no different with our Discord. I feel like people that are like-minded in the community that, are either trying to become more positive, like to laugh, like to be distracted. People are starting to conglomerate there and hang out, and it's cool. I told you guys last week about the DMs I've been getting about people saying thank you this, thank you that, but really, I don't know. I just think it's cool to poke my head in the Discord, and I'm in there. I check it a couple times a day, and sometimes I lurk and whatnot, but it's just cool to see people encouraging each other and having a place where people can get away from whatever's going on in their life, whether it's good or bad, and be distracted and play games together or do whatever. Who knows? I mean, maybe one day in the Discord, someone will say, hey, Dan, I met my future husband or wife or partner or whatever as a result of the community. You never know. So with that being said, I think we've completely gone off the track for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I will see you guys next Monday for the next episode. And if you want to check out any of our live streams, you can go to twitch.tv/Dan Gheesling. Currently, we are live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm trying to slide in some NBA 2K19, which I'm about to go live stream right now. I'm going to try to do a weekend night NBA stream. Nighttime basketball. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And I will talk to you guys next week. Later.